covering that too. Okay. Yeah. So what is CSS? CSS is basically,
Darshan, sorry.
yeah.
Please wait for 2 to 3 minutes. Students are still joining. They messaged me there's some issue.
Okay, cool. I'll wait.
Gunjan, just drop the message in the group, join immediately करके.
Yes, sir.
ड्रॉप कर देते
It is 6:10. I guess we must start now.
Okay, ma'am. No issues.
Yes, Darshan, you can start. Gunjan, the chat section is disabled.
Yeah, I'll see to it.
Okay. So moving on to the introduction of CSS. So once again, I'll repeat to the newer participants. Yesterday we had covered a basics of HTML, which was just the skeleton of our web page. For that, we need to add some styling so that our web page looks good and looks presentable. So we'll be adding that today, and we'll see the process of how it is added and what all things are used. And so it starts with CSS. So what is CSS? CSS is basically cascading style sheet, wherein we add some style elements, that is some colors or some images or any size. We'll add that to our page so that our page looks attractive. And we can control the whole layout of our web page all at once. Like yesterday we had seen that we had three types of styling methods, that is inline, external, and the one was which we had used in head tag, that is the style tags. So here we create a separate style sheet with a extension as .css, wherein all the presentable element, that is all the whatever elements we want to style, or whatever particular slot or particular section we want to style, all the properties will be there at once, so that we don't need to write them multiple times on other pages. So that's why we say that the layout of multiple web pages are controlled just at once. So we just write the code in one single page, and all of the properties get reflected in every page. Okay. So moving on. Yeah. So why it is called cascading style sheet? So basically we create a style sheet with an extension of .css, and we write the styles in that particular CSS page. and we write those particular styles in a cascade manner. That is, we write all the styles in one page itself. So we cascade all the style elements, and then we combine those into a styles.css page, and that we link to this page we link to the multiple web pages which we had created using HTML. So that's why the name cascading style sheet. Okay, so CSS, as we all know, it is a what you say, a coding background thing. It is not a programming language. It is a presentation language. But still, we have some syntax to be followed. Okay, so the first I would start with is the h1 element. So here it cannot be h1 every time. Whatever be the element, so we call it as a selector element, which we had discussed yesterday. That is, selector elements can be h1, p, div. Those all are called as selector element. That is, we select that particular element and apply a pair of property and value. These are the pair of properties and value which we are applying to h1 tag here. Be it any tag, that is div tag, that is a paragraph tag, we'll just need to select, that is apply that particular tag in the selector part, apply the property and value pair. This pair can be anything, any properties. CSS has ample amount of properties, so we will be discussing that further. So this is the basic syntax which we need to understand, and this is followed by each and every styling element. So please make sure you understand this. That is, it is a selector over here. We write a selector, then we open curly braces and close them, and add the property value pair inside them. Okay, so I hope everyone is getting that. Just put a yes in the chat box so that I know everyone is on the same line. Okay, cool. Great. Yeah, so we'll move forward, and yeah, so we'll discuss some types of selector. That is, first one is the element selector, then there is a ID selector, there is a class selector, and there is a universal selector. So element selector we had seen in the back of the example over here. This is an element, that is h1 div. We call them elements. So this is an example of element selector. For ID selector, we will declare an ID in front of h1 instead of h1. That is using a hashtag and the name of the ID. And same goes to the class. That is, we will use dot and will declare the class. And same goes for universal selector. In case of universal selector, what we'll do is we'll add a star element. So what universal selector does, as the name suggests, universal. So whatever the style properties, we will be adding inside that particular curly braces with the selector as star, that is asterisk. So whatever will property value pairs, we will be adding inside this particular selector or the curly braces, that gets applied to all the elements. That is, all the elements will follow that particular pattern first. That is the default value of the web page. So this selector is basically used to give a font family. That is, we need to maintain a particular font family in each our web page to maintain the consistency of the web page. So we'll give a font family, and we will apply the font family to all the web pages in the property value pair, and that will be followed in all the web pages. Okay, so these were the types of selector. We'll just go hands-on on this types of selector. Okay, please follow the same if you are trying to do that. So this is basically a HTML file which I had created. I'll create once again for you. Okay. So by default, we have created an index.html file in our folder that is named as CSS day2. Nothing, if you have a folder already made on your desktop, like I have this folder already made on my desktop over here. This is the folder. So I'll just right click over there and click on open with code. The ones following in the mobile, they need to keep the files in the same directory in which they are following. Okay. So I've made a folder, I've opened it with VS Code, and I'll go to the VS Code will open up with me, and everything would be blank. Now, we had studied a HTML structure yesterday. So we need to go back to this. We won't be writing that structure entirely manually. For that, we already have VS Code extensions equipped inbuilt. So we don't need to write anything. Just click on exclamation mark and click enter. The whole HTML structure will be in front of you along with the meta tags and along with the title. Okay. So we'll first name our web page. So let's say we'll name our web page as CSS day 2. Okay. So as we all know, this is the title of our web page which will be the name of the tab in which we will be operating. Okay. And now we need to create a style sheet. Okay. So how will create that? We can use the style tag over here. So what we did yesterday was we were doing the title tag inside head tag itself. We were opening a style tag, and we were writing the CSS over here. But instead, if we just go by the convention of making a separate style sheet, that is keeping our styling elements separate from the web page. So that is a good practice we follow. Also, what helps is while loading our web page. So you might have visited many web pages in this the Explorer or any Chrome browser, anything. For anything we go for a web page and visit it, what happens is some of the web page loads very faster and some of the web pages take a lot amount of time. So what the reason might be that they have included all our style sheet in the web page itself, like this in the style sheet. So this is the reason. This is not the only reason, but this might be the reason where the web page is loading a little bit slow. So for this reason, we don't use this method. Also, the inline styling which we do, like if I write an h1 tag and if I just say this is the heading, okay, and if I just open a style tag over here, so this gives me a style tag. We don't use this every time. This is just in case there is a lot of styling element we have written in our CSS. We need to give the web page on an urgent basis. So we don't have the time to find the style.css. Okay, which is the element we need to style, and we don't have that much time. For that particular time, in a very extreme case, we use this. Otherwise, we don't use this. This is also this is not also a good practice to use the inline styling method, also the internal styling method. So for that reason, we use a style sheet. It is a separate style sheet. So here I'll be linking my style sheet. Nothing, we will just writing the link tab. Already my VS Code, I haven't installed any particular extension for this. VS Code is separately equipped with this, so we don't need to install any extension. We'll just type a link and the emmet abbreviation will show you. So this is the nothing but an emmet abbreviation. Emmets, we call it as emmets basically. So whatever tag we use, like h1 or any tag or any element, we just need to write the class, or we need to write the element, and the suggestions will come down. Just click on enter. This will open a style sheet link for the linking of the style sheet. Okay, as you can see here, it shows that rel is equal to style sheet. Okay, so what does this mean? So our HTML, as we know, the doc type of this is HTML. Like we need to specify this, that this particular page is an HTML page. So this particular link or this particular style sheet is this style sheet is related to this doc type. So that's the reason. In a what manner? In a style sheet manner. That is, this is my styling sheet. So that's the reason we write this, and this comes as by default. It comes by default. Okay. For JavaScript also, it comes by default. Just the thing is that also JavaScript is written in the same manner. Just the thing is we write the script over there. So if we just write, I'll show you just a snippet, although this is not a part, but just a snippet. If I just write a script and enter, you will see nothing has occurred. But if we add over here a type, so what type of style sheet is this? So we'll just enter a JavaScript type of string. Okay, so this is related to the links which we'll be creating, and this is the style sheet. Now as we know, href is something, the reference of the file which we are using. We need to provide the path of the file which we are using. So here, since my style sheet, the style.css sheet is inside this particular folder itself, css day 2, so I'll be just writing style.css. Okay, this is just the link which we have created. Okay, and now to add this style.css, of course we will need a IDE for this. We can't add go to a folder and right click, like we can't do this. Okay, just opening. Okay, someone's mic is on. Can you please turn on? Yeah. So as you can see, I've opened the day 2 folder. If I right click and just go to new, there isn't anything we could add. So we can directly do this through our ID, that is VS Code. We'll go to our ID, click on the new file button over here. As you can see, there are buttons over here. This one is a new file. This one is a new folder. This is to refresh the files inside the folder. Okay. So we'll just click on here, add our style, add the name of our style sheet. It can be anything, not necessary to be style only. But as a practice, as a coder or developer's practice, we just name it as a style.css. Okay. So I already have a style.css over here. I'll name this as style2.css. As you can see, the file is created with an extension of .css. Okay, and we will link the same file over here, that is style2.css. Okay. So this is particular part where now this is the area where we'll be writing all the styling code. Okay. So let's say we'll be using the first ID, first selector, that is an element selector. So if I just give a h1 over here and apply a color red color, and again, okay, I'll go to red. Okay, so yesterday we are told to install a live server ka extension. So I hope everyone has installed. We'll just click on go live and the page will open on a browser. As you can see, the page has opened on our browser and we had given an h1, and we can see we haven't provided any style element or any inline style part over here, but still we have our styles, that is the color is red. So that is the thing why we use style.css. Okay. This was regarding the element. As we had seen that if we use this particular part, it is not beneficial because all the h1 elements will get this color as red, which we don't want. Okay. So for rectifying that thing, what we have is CSS ID selector and CSS class selector. Okay. So firstly, we'll go with the ID selector part. So how we'll declare it is, we just go to the element, write ID, and inside double quotes, we'll give the ID name. So if I just give it as head1 and save it, go to style2.css, open a ID with, that is my selector, with as my selector is ID now, I will need to provide an hashtag below the ID name. So I've provided a hashtag going with the head1 and providing a curly braces, and if I just save this, the red color will be gone. As you can see, the red color is gone. And now if we just say that I want to increase the size of this this particular h1, so I'll just give font size. As you can see, all the properties are displayed over here, and majorly we use font size, font family, font weight. So these are the properties which we use majorly. The other properties which we have they are like if we need something specific in our styling, then we use that particular properties over here. Otherwise, the frameworks which we are using ahead, that is a Bootstrap framework, that itself provides everything to us. So we don't need to write these classes, no codes, nothing. We'll just declare over here that okay, this particular class, I want the heading to be bold or my heading to be white. So we'll just give a class over there. That will be taught tomorrow. So we'll just go with the basics today. So if I just give a font size, okay, font size as this is h1, so I'll be giving the values in pixels. So if I, let's say if I'm giving 50 pixels, okay, you can see the change over here. And now here we are using id. The reason IDs are being used, it is just a unique method we use to style the element. That is, the ID is unique. We can't use that ID over and over to all of our elements. We can't use that. It is an unique ID. ID. We can't use it all over again. It will be. It will give no error towards us. But it is not a good practice to use ID every time. For that, we have something called as classes. So if I just say class head1, and if I just remove this hashtag, and for classes we have a dot, and if say I reduce the font size to be 40 pixels, save this, the size has been reduced. The thing is with classes, okay, I hope everything is okay. Yeah. The thing is with classes, we can use these classes each and every time however we want. And we can name them anything we want and go with the functionality of that. And for ID, it is just for you. It is a unique styling method. So we will that element will have a unique style. So if we want that particular thing to happen, we will use ID. But most of the time, classes are used. IDs are not preferred. So we'll go with the classes. That's how we write a class selector. Okay, and then comes the universal selector, which we had used. That is CSS universal selector. And for that, just say I've added this multiple times. Okay, and if I want my entire web page to follow the method of follow every text to be red, so what we'll do is go over here, we'll just remove this, we'll use asterisk sign. What happens is all of the elements get selected, and the styling gets applied to each and every element. So let's say if I give a font family, so this is a Times New Roman, that is a default, or you can say the default here. If we just give an Arial font and just save this, you can see the fonts of each and every tag is changed. Each and every element is changed. So this is the thing that the universal selector does. Okay. Any doubts still here? Okay, some more no's. Cool, I'll go ahead with that if this everything is clear. Yeah, so next thing is the colors part. So in CSS, we have 3 types of colors naming schemes. Mahesh, can you just specify the error which you are getting? And I want to change one by one. So how can I do? Change as in apply style to each and every element. We'll use again a class. So see, if I want this particular h1, okay, this second h1 to be red in color. Okay, so I'll give a new class over here. I'll make a new class of head2. Go in our style sheet. I'll just remove this. I'll just give a head1, which we are using, and give it a color as red, and I want the head2 to be blue. So head2, I'll give the color to be blue. Okay, so just notice over here I've given the second heading as head2 and all others are head1. Okay, so if I just go on the web page, reload this, just let me see the site sheet. Okay, I haven't added the dot over here. As you can see, even if I skip a dot, a major problem comes over here, that is the code won't run. And now if I just save this style sheet, as you can see, only a single element has a different color. That is the blue color which we have given. Okay, Himanshu, everything clear? Okay, cool. Yeah, so we'll move forward with colors part. For colors, as we have seen, there are three types of naming scheme which we have. There are three naming schemes which we have, that is a RGB, hex, and HSL. RGB is again by default red, green, and blue, and this is the syntax for that, for the same, that is RGB, and we'll specify the values of red, green, and blue. For the hex, we'll use hashtag over here, and we'll provide the hex code of the red, green, and blue. This is the HSL, which is hue, saturation, and lightness. So we'll provide a particular value, that is particular percentage of value, so that we get our colors. I'll just show you the hands-on over here. Okay, so the color conventions which are as follow. Now I had said that we need to provide a particular value. So for RGB, that is for the first method, we have all the red, green, and blue values ranging from 0 to 255. So we can use any value, any combination of value, and we'll get the color accordingly. That is, we actually use a reverse over here. That is, we need to find a color picker, and the color which we want, we'll go over there, pick our color, and the RGB value will be shown to us. Okay, the default, like the basic values, that is the black and white. So if we just do RGB 000, so the black value will occur, and for white it will be 255, 255, and 255. That is the maximum and the minimum. Okay, so minimum one provides us with black, and the maximum provides us with white. Inside this only, we have another property, that is we use to apply transparency to our element, or the color element which we have given, that is RGBA. So what happens is we will provide a normal color. So let's say if I'm taking this color, okay, and if I'll apply this color, now we'll just add a new comma over here, and provide with the value, that is the transparency value. So it ranges from 0 to 1. It ranges from 0 to 1. Okay, 1 is the opaque one, that is the extreme point is the opaque, and the 0 is the transparent one. Okay. Okay. So this is the RGB method. So we have two methods, that is an RGB and RGBA, if you want to apply the transparency. For the hex code, we have the values ranging from 0 to F, that is the value of R, G, and B will range from 0 to F. This is basically a hexadecimal coding system which we are using over here. So from 0 to F, we will be using the values, and for the black and white, the extreme point, that is the minimum point, is for the black, and the maximum will give you the white. Again, we can here we can apply our transparency. So what we'll do is we'll just take a color. So let's say if we just take this over white color, or maybe any random color. If we take any random code, it should be a 6-letter one. Okay, now if this is my color, and if I want to add a transparency to that, so again we will add 2 more bits to that, and we will provide the value ranging from 0 to f, as it is a hex code. So if I just say 0 to, so that particular transparency will be applied. Again, the extreme minimum is our transparent one, and the extreme maximum is our opaque one. Okay, so far so cool. Everyone is getting. Just drop a yes if you are getting whatever. Okay, so the next method is an HSL method, that is a hue, saturation and lightness. So here we will provide a value from 0 to 100%, that is we will be providing the values in a percentage manner. Okay, so if anyone can guess over here what will be the black and what will be the white following the above conventions, please put in a chat box for black and for white. Just try for a guess. Go for a guess. No issues. Yeah, 000 for black and 100% for white. Great. Okay, someone was asking, can you explain RGB? RGB. Okay, so RGB, again, if I just show you the syntax, as you can see, RGB, that is red, green and blue, we will provide the values of red, green and blue. So as we know, these are the primary colors. So we will provide the values of that, and after that we will get a particular value. So the value will be ranging from 0 to 255 for each and every color. So that is red will go from 0 to 255, and green will be go for the same 0 to 255, and same goes with black. Okay, cool. Everyone is getting that. I just want you guys to try this. That let us remove the style sheet. We don't need this. I'll link my style sheet again. So I'll be showing you again how to link the style sheet. Just type in link, press tab, and our style sheet will occur. Our style sheet path is style2.css. Okay, and I just want this paragraph tag to be let's say to be red. Okay, I just want this paragraph tag to be red. So what are the steps we need to follow? Just provide a class over here. So if I say class be red, okay, I have given the class. So far so cool. And if I just go here, type my dot over here, as we are using a class, and pred is our class name. I just want any one of you to send me in chat what should be the RGB value of the same and what property we will be using over here. Any one of you. Just try for a guess. Also mention the property which we will be using. Yeah, cool. It's not font color. It's not font color. Anyone else? We'll just write color over here. No need to write font color. Just write color. Provide the RGB value. And as we had said 255, let's check it.
Good morning. Hello, sir. Abhi
255. Okay, I'll just type in RGB 255 0. Let me check with the class, that is p-red. I've given the same. Okay, cool. So our web page name is styling.html. We'll go to our browser, check with that. Styling.html. Yeah, that's correct. So we have got our p tag as right. Okay, so I guess everyone is understanding that. Cool. We'll move forward now. So we have understood the colors, we have understood the types of selectors, and now there's a box model over here which needs to be followed by each and every element we use. Okay, so this is a convention that is by default written, and we need to follow this convention so that our styling gets easier. So this is the styling convention. Like, we write our element. This is our place where the element gets set. Okay. So then comes our padding. Okay, the whatever padding property we apply, that gets applied above our element. Okay. So yesterday some of you were asking what is the difference between margin and padding. So here I'll clear it out. So first we'll write the element, provide it with the padding. It is not necessary to provide it, but by default there is some padding over there in the HTML. I'll show you in a moment. And then the border gets applied. So if there's no padding, directly the border will get applied. That is, padding becomes 0, or the default padding which the HTML has. So that comes into the picture. Then the border gets applied, and then the margin gets applied. So basically the element is still here itself, till the border itself. Okay, and then or whatever the margin is getting applied outside the margin. So if we give directly the margin, the element will be applied, the margin will be applied outside the element. It won't be inside our element. So there are some style tags, or there are some elements which need a padding inside the border. We don't need padding outside. So for that we need any spacing be ahead of the border or outside of the border. We use margin over there. Okay, so this is the convention which we need to follow. We'll just see what happens over here. I'll show you the default HTML padding which gets applied. So here we have written an H1 tag. Okay, as you can see, there is an H3 tag. Okay, my bad. There is an H3 tag. We haven't applied any padding to this. As you can see in style sheet, we haven't applied any padding, nothing. We have just written H3. So by default, HTML provides us with some padding over here. So if I just go click on this element, click on inspect, and just a minute, I'll dock this over here so you'll be able to see here. Okay. See here, the default HTML is being provided. As you can see, the font size has been set and the margin is being given over here itself. Okay, so there is a 1 em of margin at the start and the end of the element. Okay, so there is a margin by default provided inside this HTML. at the start of the start and the end. As you can see over here, there's some spacing. The element is not starting right from here. It has some spacing. So there's a margin provided over here. So what basically happens is, while designing everything from scratch, we need to remove this kind of margin and padding from here. So what we'll do is, if you want to remove all the padding and the margin from the element, currently I'll show you once again how it is looking. I'll just close this inspect element. Okay, so there's a padding over here, right? If I just go in our style2.css, go to the element, select again, we are selecting h3 as our element, going into that, selecting our selector, and we need 0 margin and 0 padding. So what we'll do is, just go into selector, write the property as padding, and we'll make it as 0 pixel. Also the margin to be 0 pixel. So whatever value will provide ahead using the margin and padding, that will be get applied. So as you can see, there was a shift inside the elements. So that is because there was a default padding over here, so which we have removed. That's the reason HTML provides us with that, the default HTML. Okay. We have to download any extension for CSS. No, we don't need any extension for CSS. Everything is provided inside. Everything is equipped in the VS Code itself. Okay. What padding exactly means? So padding, if I just show you the box model, padding is basically the spacing between the border and the element which we need. So it is inside our element. This border isn't this much thick every time. The border is very small. But if we need to provide a larger border, then the border convention will use this particular size or this particular space, and inside that the padding is available. So whatever be the element, I want some padding between my content and my border, we will use the padding part. And if I don't want that padding, I want spacing between my two elements, then we will use a margin. If you want a spacing between my content and border, we will be using padding. Okay, I hope it's clear, Chirag. Okay, okay, I've repeated. Someone's name is admin. Is that clear? Cool, I will go ahead. So I'll just demonstrate this so that you guys understand exactly. I'll just go into index.html and I'll remove this. Okay. We have linked our style sheet. I'll just create a empty element, that is a div. It is just like a, what is a div? It is just like a vessel or a container wherein all our star elements will be stored. It has no value, nothing to that, nothing, div does nothing. It is just a convention to use. Okay. So we have given a div and I'll be applying a class of box to this. Okay. And inside this, I'll be giving a, let's say a p tag. Okay, named as box. Now, just write a class dot box, and first I'll need to provide a particular height and width so that it is visible to you. So again, I'll use a height property and provide, just go with a 100 pixel by 100 pixel box, height and width. Okay, still it won't be visible. Okay, as you can see, it's not visible until now. We have just provided a box. Now, if I just give a border, okay, this is the border. This is how we give a border, and there's a syntax for the same. So first I will provide the size of the border, of how much size we want. So I just want the 1 pixel of size. I'll go with 1 pixel. I want the border to be solid, not dotted. So I'll just give a solid over here. And I want the border to be black. We can use any color over here, RGB, anything, but however we want. As you can see, we have a box over here. It is a 100 pixel by 100 pixel square, and the element is inside P. Okay, I guess it will confuse a little. Okay, I will just leave this thing. Now I'll just give a background color to this. Okay, so let's give a background color to be, I'll use a RGB method over here. So if I just give this, the box has got a background color. Okay, now this is the border, so I'll just increase the size of the border so you can at least differentiate. See, this is our border, this is our content. I'll just remove this box so you don't get confused for you. Okay, so inside this div will be storing any amount, any content which we want to be stored. I've zoomed the screen, that's why this box is a little bit otherwise the 100 pixels won't see this. It would be like this. Okay, and now this is the border property till now which we have applied. This is our content, this is our border. So I've just increased that size, and now I want a margin over here. Okay, if I just apply a padding of 20 pixels, you can see the box has grown from inside, not outside. Like the box is still over here, as you can see. And now if I provide the box, the padding has been applied inside our border. As you can see, the content has gone big. Okay, and now if I just provide a margin over here, okay, margin of 20 pixels. Now what will happen is the box will get shifted from all over the part. Okay, see, the box got shifted. So that means the margin is being applied outside the border, and the padding is getting applied inside the box, inside the border, to the content. Okay, so far so cool. Everyone is understanding this, because this is a very important part to be understood. The more number of years, so I'll start with next. Okay, cool, no issues. Now we'll be going ahead with tables. So this is the box model which you need to remember. You don't need to remember any property or any CSS pair, property value pair, nothing. You just need to explore some properties, and for each and every part in web development there are cheat sheets which we need to refer. The properties we get fitted into our mind, that is font or color or background color. So these are the basic properties which are used on a daily basis by the developers. So these are the properties which we get fitted in our mind very easily. Some more properties which we need to follow for each and every topic. So that is somewhat an advanced over here. So this first we need to understand the rule set of how the CSS is followed, and then we will be understanding the properties. So these were the thing. Can you show the style code for a second? Okay, cool. I'll wait for that. You can try this box method at least. Okay, I'll wait for 5 minutes. Just try this box. This is the box class which I had given to this div. This is an empty div, nothing is going on here, and I've provided a just try this for 5 minutes, and I'll go to the tables. Tables is the last topic, then we will conclude. Okay, try this. Please try this, everyone. We just have 4 steps to do this. Just give an empty div over here, give a class of box, go to the style sheet, make sure your style sheet is linked over here, that is through this link. Make sure it is linked, or you have provided a proper href. Same goes with the mobile ones also. They just need to provide an href over here, nothing else. All the files should be in same condition, same path. Just provide with that. Go to the style element, open the box class, write the properties over here, and see what. Toggle with some outputs over there. Like change the border or add some more margin, add some more padding. Please write done in, yeah, sure. Please write done in chat box once you have done the same. This is the div part, okay? Okay, cool. We'll go forward with the tables now. I've already created a table over here, so we can save some time and deploy that time to the properties. Okay, nothing, just the common convention which we had used yesterday. That is, we open a table tag, close it, give a tr row. First one is our heading, that is th, and I've provided 3 headings over here. Second row is my table data, that is td. I have given all the table data over here. I'll just save this. I haven't provided the style sheet over here, so this is the old style sheet which is linked. I'll give a new style sheet over here. That is, we have our name as style2.css. Okay, so we haven't written any properties over here for the table, and I'll just load this table. Okay, so our web page name is tables.html. As you can see, there's nothing over here. It isn't looking as a table. Also, if we haven't provided, as we haven't provided any CSS to this, so this isn't looking as a table also. Okay, going forward, we'll just add a border property over here. So we have two conventions to do that. First one is a border, and I'll give a 1. So this will use the default HTML border. This won't use the specific one which we can modify, we can color. This will use a default HTML border. So this is, as you can see, this is the default HTML border. This was somewhat looks like old and nothing new over there. So okay, so we won't use this. We'll go to our style sheet. We'll give a class of tables. Okay, I've given a class over here. I'll go to my style sheet, open it with class as tables, and now over here I'll give a border property. So I want a 1px border itself. I want that to be solid 1. I want that to be a black border. So just give a border. Save this. So as you can see, the tables are the borders is only getting applied to the corners or the boundaries or the borders. Okay, because we have used a border property for the table itself. That is, this property is getting applied to this particular table only, not to the tr, not to the th, nothing. Okay, for this, what we'll be using is, instead of class tables, if we just give tables, and now what I'll be doing is I'll be combining these elements of my table. What I'll be doing is combining my elements. that is the TR and TH, because I want the border for TR and TH as well. So I will be combining this selectors by using a comma. So this is known as combination selector combinations. Okay, so I have written a table over here. I'll put a comma, space, TH, sorry for the TR, space, TH. So if I do this, as you can see, all the TH and the TRs, my first row, I've got the border now. You can see here, I've given only to TH, not to TD. I've given just to TH. So as you can see, the TH has got the border. Now if I just add a TR over TD over here, so that my data cells also get boundaries. See, you have got the borders over here. Okay, just toggle with this. If I just remove TR, what will happen if I just remove TR? Okay, nothing happened. So that wasn't the property, that wasn't the right method to be done. Okay, now what is happening is, this is getting the border in a particular manner, like for a particular element. Okay, the borders are being applied for a particular element. What I want is, I don't want the spaces inside there. Okay, so I'll just give a bit styling to this. So if I just fix the width of this table, let's say by the width property which we have studied. So if I just give this as 100 pixels, okay, see the width has been applied, so it has been shrink. And if I just give a height, also this is not a good practice to write width first and then height. We'll give a height first. Height 100 pixel. So this will look a square. Okay, cool. The height is in 100 pixels just because we have given a height to the TD and TH also. So the 100 pixels is getting applied to this TD and TH also. If we just remove this, everything will go and the table will only be of 100 pixels. So if I'm removing this, but there is a convention to give a height. So all the properties work on, all the property value pairs work on each and every element of our HTML. Okay, this is, I'll just keep the width. As of now, height is not needed. And now I'll just say that the borders are not being collapsed. Basically, there's a gap between over here. So if I just give a border collapse, and if I just provide a value, say collapse from, okay, I'll just provide a first and none value, so it will not do anything. And if I just give a, I will say it's just coming now. First I had given a none value, now I would say the table to be collapsed. See, the borders are now gone, the spacing between the borders are now gone. So all the borders are now collapsed. Okay, and the table is clean now. Now what we want is, we want only that particular table. If you say, if we have multiple tables over here, okay, inside the space, if we have multiple tables, but we want only this particular table to have the borders and whatever the styling properties we have. So we have given a class over here. Fine. I'll just say dot class. So that is dot tables. So now what will happen is, for the class which we have used, for that particular element, this properties will be applied. So this is another example of selector combination. Here we have used the selector as class and our elements. So we are combining this, and we want this particular table to have the class. As you can see, that happened over here, and that particular table, it won't get applied to the parent child. That is the table. That's why we have seen gaps over here, and it is not collapsing. Okay. So that is a selector combination method. We have some conventions over here. It's also that needs to be followed. Okay, cool. Just try this table and we will conclude for the day. Just try this table, apply this properties, change this border to 50. Let's say I want the 10 pixel border and width to be 200 pixels. Just play around with this value, see what happens. See, this is looking like this. This is looking like a somewhat like a checkers table or something. Okay. Didn't understand that class combination. Okay. Chewy Gunjal. So what happens is there is a particular convention for this. This is an advanced part. So we have a convention for that. We'll cover this tomorrow in our bootstrap type because there is a convention over here which needs to be followed. It isn't the same way. Okay. I'll make sure that you get the conventions done. Just try this for at least this for today. We'll go to the conventions tomorrow because it's already timed up. It's 7:10 already. Yeah, if you have just tried this, please drop a done so we can conclude our lecture. Recording will be provided by the team, please. Okay, so we'll conclude today, for today at least, and for the next session that we will be having a bootstrap ka session from tomorrow. So for that particular session, we need to provide some files over here because it's a framework. So there are particular files, somewhat CSS files or JS file. So I'll just give you a brief. So bootstrap is basically a advanced version of the CSS. All this CSS has been written in a particular class. So the style sheet is already been made. We don't need to make any style sheet. We just need to use these classes as we have used here. These classes over here. These classes are already made for us by our Bootstrap framework. So we'll be providing that. So we have some files over here. We will be uploading those files today on the classroom. Please check your classroom and make sure you download the files also. Okay. So there's again a convention over here. Okay, I hope you liked the lecture. Please fill the feedback link, the attendance link. That's all. We'll conclude for the
We have shared an attendance link with you in the chat box. Make sure you fill it before leaving the session. Thank you. Sorry to interrupt. Just one more thing, guys. Please don't share the attendance link in any WhatsApp group to your friends. We are also downloading the attendance, so we'll be cross-checking it.
Thank you, Amay Shinde. Thank you, everyone. I hope everyone understood all of the things because these are the basic rule sets which we need to understand. I'm not the sir. I'm just a T guy. Please don't write sir. Okay, I'll stop my share screen. We'll conclude.